Welcome to the Market Rundown. This is Matt Bennett, grain marketing consultant with Channel. I'm here to discuss the May USDA supply and demand report. This is always an important report in that it's our first look at the acreage estimates that the USDA gave us for the planting intentions back in March, which, as we know, were pretty low for corn at 89.5 and high for beans at 91 million acres. They plugged those acreage estimates into the balance sheet to take a look at what does this year look like. And so the three takeaways I have for the report today is that you're looking at a snug situation on corn, both old crop and new. You're also looking at a pretty snug situation on soybeans, both old crop and new. And then the third thing that we'll talk about is the world situation, which appears from the USDA standpoint to be nothing to worry about too much. So first of all, for corn, very interesting in that the USDA typically uses the acreage that I just suggested, which comes out of the March Planting Intentions Report, along with the yield that they post for the February Outlook Forum. And that this year that was 181. This year they used a 177 yield to plug into the new crop balance sheet. And so old crop carryout did not change at 144. The new crop carryout, though, was a 1.392, which is actually pretty close to what me and the people that I work with were estimating. The USDA got there from a different, down a different path than what we did. We felt like the yield of 181 would be what they'd use, because that's typically what they use to plug into that balance sheet. And we felt like demand would stay fairly strong. So USDA dropped to 177, I believe, due to the fact that we've had a not ideal spring so far. And then they also slashed exports 100 million bushels, and they slashed feed demand 250 million bushels. So interestingly, exports are being slashed at a time whenever we feel like the U.S. may have to kind of pick up some slack. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out and if their prediction comes true. When you look at soybeans, you look at a carryout, for instance, soybeans. I mean, it's tight. The 235 carryout right now could get even tighter. That's for old crop. For new crop, 310 million bushel carryout. And the way that they got to these numbers is essentially, exports continue to impress. You're looking at awfully high demand. Crush margins here in the U.S. have been pretty strong. As you move forward, you've got to think that this renewable diesel is going to enter into the equation. So quite frankly, 235 and 310 may be too high. Yes, it's still a very snug situation, as I suggested before. And it'll be heavily dependent upon, can we take these big acres here in the U.S. this year and still maintain a really strong yield like we've seen in the last couple of years. Then whenever we look over at the world situation, quite frankly, the USDA is still posting over a 300 million metric ton carry, for the world. Right now, quite frankly, I think that that's too high. It's really hard to get a finger on exactly what the number might be, but the average trade estimate was 10 to 15 million metric tons below, what the USDA was suggesting. And for soybeans, they're looking pushing 100 million metric tons, which again was significantly above the levels that most people in the trade were looking at. And so I think with all the issues you've seen, in the Black Sea region this year with some war and issues with exports and whatnot, there's no question that what might come out of that region is certainly something that's going to be very closely watched moving forward and could have a very large impact on the market. But at this stage of the game, it certainly looks like the USDA thinks that everything is going to be alive and well, and we're not going to be too worried about the world situation as far as supply is concerned. So again, my three takeaways would be that the corn situation is quite tight, both for old crop and new. The bean situation is going to remain tight, according to the USDA, for old crop and new. And then whenever you look at the world situation, it'll be a little contrary to what we're looking at here in the U.S. The USDA seems to think that we have ample supplies moving forward. So I appreciate you tuning in to the Market Rundown. If you have any questions or comments, you can certainly post those at the bottom of this video, or you could respond to the newsletter. And if you don't get the newsletter that comes through channel, you can go to the channel website and click on the marketing tab there and be able to sign up for the newsletter to where you can have correspondence with me back and forth and post any questions there. So again, this has been Matt Bennett, Grain Marketing Consultant with Channel. Thanks for tuning in.